They hating on me now. They hating on me. They said to go and get that dirt off your door. Come on.
Well, welcome to the Lyon Farm. I am Ravonda Cosby, the Executive Director of the Arabia Mountain Heritage Area Alliance. While that is a lot, what you do know is that you're sitting in one of the best national heritage areas in the country. Thank you. There are 62 around the country. We are the 49th, and we are walking into 20 years of existence. 20 years. You're sitting on the 100-acre Lyon Farm that was purchased by DeKalb County Watershed Management for very good reasons in 2003. It was because water quality matters, and the plant that takes care of us and takes our water out of here is just over the hill. Pole Bridge Advanced Wastewater Treatment Plant, right, Alton? And so as a result of that, some decisions had to be made in the early 2000s. The county needed spray fields, those buffer fields, to let some of that water out on. And this place stood here.
As we gather at the base of Arabia Mountain and Panola Mountain today, let us pause to acknowledge this nation, who were forcibly removed from this land under the Indian Removal Act of 1830. Let us understand who we are in the context of our past, present, and future. We carry the knowledge of this ancestry and the power of place regarding where African American people were also enslaved. Today, where we stand is publicly owned by DeKalb County and its citizens, but its history impacts who has access and more so who feels welcomed and seen. By acknowledging our history, we encourage DeKalb County to become a more welcoming space for everyone, and we honor the indigenous people who continue to have a deep connection to these lands.
So today we celebrate the preservation of DeKalb County's only remaining plantation home. A structure that has stood here since 1821. This incredible $500,000, $500,000 renovation was made possible through a public-private partnership. But today, after being told, you have this money sitting here and you've not spent anything. And we're on the downside of the year, and what are you going to do with it? I'd like to make an appropriation of $250,000, $250,000. Because I can't think of a better way to invest DeKalb County taxpayer dollars. The work here is not only about preserving walls and wood, it's about telling a full truth. It is about including the stories of 17 enslaved individuals that were here in 1860 and their descendants who built thriving communities that we now know as Flat Rock and Lithonia.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Well, it doesn't seem like it's been 19 years since I have left the DeKalb County Commission and become a United States Congressman. Wow. 19 years. Wow. And I didn't say that just for y'all to clap for that, but I'm just reminiscing on the fact that it was at some point earlier, like within the previous 5 years from that time, that the Lions house came to my attention, and it was through Kelly Jordan and his efforts, there's Kelly right there, to protect and preserve land in this area that at that time was being gobbled up by developers and homes being put on every patch that could be found, could be sold. And so people were selling property, and Kelly and others knew of the historical significance of this area and properties in this area. And so they set about purchasing this property and aiding and encouraging the county to be involved in that. And I don't remember exactly what was done as far as this particular property is concerned. I was going to ask you ahead of time to refresh my recollection.
Good morning to everyone, to our CEO, our commissioner, our congressman. So glad to be here. And let me say on behalf of Commissioner Marita Davis Johnson, it is an honor to stand here not just to speak, but to really look at what your tax dollars and your investment does. Preserve history. Through this partnership, as the CEO has already said, public and private partnership, we are not just really setting the foundation for future generations, but what we're doing is we're reminding my children who live in this community and your children and other folks who live in this community how important it is to invest in our history.
I'm honored to be able to be here with you today and to celebrate this opportunity. It's an honor, especially because the folks that are directly connected to this edifice are still here with us to help correct the story and tell it the way it should be told. To Miss Lyons and her father, to Miss Whitaker, one of the folks that helped to excavate some of the archived materials that we're looking at today. I have to give more than just my time, more than just these words I'm giving in the speech. I have to give my money. So with my chief of staff is taking notes over here, Sanders Johnson. So we have to appropriate something. I think we have a good $50,000 in us. So y'all leaving here with about 300. And I'm gonna come back in 2 years too.
If you are a descendant and your family started here, would you stand to your feet? Is that possible? Kathy and Carol are waving. You see what I mean? So that now $300,000 allows us to focus on phase 3. So much. Thank you so much. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Just so everyone knows, the Pole Bridge staff, they actually take care of this facility. They cut the grass, they make sure things are here. This is part of their passion. It's not just their job. The Department of Watershed Management, we already acknowledged all of the staff that actually do work. It takes work to actually construct this. We just don't let a brick mason just come in here and start stacking. You have someone that's Shauna that actually picks out the coloration so that the masonry looks authentic. It does not look like if we just completed it a year ago. It looks as it has for generations. And we want to continue that. So we have a lot of people here at the Department of Watershed Management that are literally here week by week. And I want to acknowledge them again. I know they were acknowledged before, but could you please wave your hands from Carrie to Shelly to Shauna. And Shauna, do you mind coming up and standing with me? Aaliyah's right there. I see Tavares. I don't know who you're taking pictures of as well. And of course, Ken and Isaac, who just disappeared. So these are the people that are literally working for you. The reason I'm bringing up Shauna, CEO Cochran Johnson and Commissioner Bolton, she's the one that's going to be working. Once you release the funds, this is the person who takes it and runs.
And so this preserved plantation offers us a foundation to tell a story of the rural South in a place that still holds built structures, topographical features, and even plants that allow us to understand in tangible level what life might have been like for some in this part of the world. The preservation and conservation that has taken place here allows us to share history that is sometimes hard to hear and even harder to tell. But it is the work of the Alliance to tell hard history with integrity. This land was a foundation for many people over many generations, and to begin with, the Muskogee, also called the Creek Indians, the Creek people, Creek Nation, and the Cherokee were also on this land as hunters, but they didn't live here, but they did cross this land hunting and foraging.
When white settlers arrived, many Muskogee people adopted their ways, the ways of the settlers, in order to survive among them. They farmed, and believe it or not, they even enslaved people of African descent. We have oral histories that tell that the White Lyon family fed Native Americans when they came to the door seeking food, and they were never molested by them. And Elizabeth Lyon, the second generation of Lyons who was here, reported being afraid of them when she was out moving the cows alone. So we know that they crossed paths. We know they were here at the same time before they were removed. So as our federal government was signing treaties with one hand, they were also giving away the same land with the other hand to different people. And Marianne and Joseph Lyon arrived on this land from South Carolina in the early 1800s. And Joseph is said to have received an 800-acre bounty grant for his service to the Continental Army that left him with only one arm. That's a whole story. He came over from the Great Britain, from the British Isles, and fought for the king initially, and he got captured. And ever the wise man, he converted. He took the oath, a pledge to this country, and became an American citizen much later when he lived in South Carolina. And for his service, he was given this land, which was not the government's to give, but they gave it anyway. And when they got to Georgia, the frontier, they landed on the foundation that the Muskogee people had made. Thriving grasslands and forest roads and settlements. And the Lyon family in turn used this land as a foundation to build a farm over 200 years ago. And Joseph and Marianne's descendants lived in this house for 185 years. So Joseph and Marianne Lyon built a 2-story log cabin right here on a foundation made of local granite rock. They didn't manage the land or use it in the same way that the Muskogee people did, so they had to alter the land and make things grow for them. They cleared forests and plowed grasslands to create farmland. This was hard work, and the White Lyon family did not do it alone. We don't know exactly when the Lyons began enslaving people, but there are records that show that Marianne and Joseph's son George enslaved people of African descent. The 1850 and 1860 census, also called the slave schedule, shows us up to 17 people were enslaved here. And they were men and they were women, but just a few. About 4 men and women. And the other 13 were children. This was not a wealthy family. This was a family that owned a few slaves because they could afford it. And then those slaves had children, and that is chattel slavery. During that time, the enslaved people farmed this land to sustain everyone who lived here, to sell cotton to make additional money for the Lyon family. The descendants of the people who were enslaved here continue to live in this area, and we will learn more about them on the tour. On this tour, you will learn about rural life in the antebellum South. You will see the preserved and rebuilt structures that help us tell the story. And something that you may hear us say is, we don't know. Because there is more that we don't know than that we do know about the people who lived in this place. So we ask you to come along with us and open your eyes and your imagination to build the history that we know is here.
Where I know you're from. That's actually it. That's the house that we're in right now. And this is the property. This right here is a lion fence. And when I say lion, L-I-N-E fence.
Okay.
Slaves could not go past that fence. They had trees. If you ever do the tour at Flat Rock, they got trees there that's been planted since slavery. And they are huge. They probably this time. But they're the only lime trees that are still existing because of the church was behind it.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
All righty, so we have 2 very important structures behind us, one of them being the well. So one of the most important aspects to any living culture and society is obviously going to be water. That water is going to come from the South River, which is right behind you actually. Now what we think is the most interesting about wells is that somebody had to get down there and dig it. Who dug it? I think it goes without saying, absolutely. Now, when you actually look down into the well, there's many things that you cannot see today. because it is quite dark. But we do like people to get over there and take a look inside the well. If you could not afford to purchase an enslaved person, that price is very heavy. Owning enslaved people was not an easy feat to do. By about 1860, the average going price for an able-bodied man is anywhere, but in able-bodied meaning somewhere between the ages of 15 and 30. You're looking at $400 to $500 on the low end. It's very expensive for that time period, especially.
Yeah. You need a strong light to be able to get an idea of how deep it is.
You can look at it, it's deep.
Forward. This is a sorghum hut. How many of you have ever tried sorghum syrup?
This morning.
Yeah, this morning there was sorghum syrup here. Able to see the whole structure. And you can step up in it. You're welcome to step up or come around the back. Build a fire, put the sap in it, start the fire, put a lid, then cover this whole thing up with a lid and just let it boil and boil and boil. And the heat, they would continue to stoke the fire from here, so the big fire was here. That chimney would pull the heat across the entire trough and up the chimney. When we talk about foundations, when the Lyon family got here, there were already things growing here that they could use, and they were growing here because the native people had cultivated them here. And so muscadines, which were our native grapes in this area, would have been growing, and native people would have been using muscadines for a long time before anybody else got to this area. And so this is one of the arbors. There's two sets of arbors, again from oral history. We knew one was up on the east side of the house and the other one on the other side of the house there. And these are the original muscadine vines that they cultivated. So this is the old smokehouse. This was another phase 2 of the preservation. So there's all kinds of speculation about this building. We don't know. This building is the same size of the foundation of the original cabin. Is it possible some of these logs were logged and used in the original cabin? Possibly. Oral history tells us that that cabin, when it was dismantled, was actually removed and created a crib, like a corn crib somewhere, and eventually rotted and was burned. So it's possible that these are some of those logs. It's possible not.
This would still be your last stop because we love to end this tour on empathy. I think one of the most important things about coming to a plantation space is to see the enslaved quarters, because those are the people whose quite literal blood, sweat, and tears went into making these spaces something to be preserved today. We did state that by 1860 there were about 17 enslaved people on this property. All of them could not live in here. We do believe that there were other slave cabins farther off on that side of the property. Typically speaking, the enslaved who live closer to the house usually work closer to the house, sometimes even inside of the house if they have enough enslavement. People actually would have had to live in this space day in and day out, for some of them their entire lives. Traditionally speaking, a slave quarter, a typical cabin, is about 8 by 10 feet. And larger plantations, you have anywhere from 8 to 10 people living in a space that's small. In many cases, if you have a very large plantation or a very small, those are usually multi-generational family units living in a space that's small.
What we have for the African American families who lived and were confined to this plantation are an age, a race, and a color. That's all we know. So the work of a historian in the antebellum South is to see if we can figure out who are the unnamed people. And we are so, so lucky to have descendants of these unnamed people who are here. You saw them in the front row today, who can tell us, my great-great-grandfather was, and he was born here. My great-great-grandmother was, and she was born here, and this is her name. So if you are looking at the slave schedule, this is the new information I just got from the Kathy and Carolyn Mabry, who were here. They are the descendants of Felix Lyon. Felix Lyon was born in 1859, which means on the 1860s, is this 1860? He was born in 1849. On the 1850 census, he was 1 year old. He was a 1 year old black male on this Lyon Farm. Can you find him on that census? 1 year old child in 1960 on that slave schedule is Felix Lyon, the great-great-grandfather of Carol and Kathy Mabry, who were sitting in the front seat today. So our 11-year-old was Hill Lyon. We have a photograph of Hill Lyon. If you visit the back porch, you'll see the picture of Hill Lyon. He was one of the trustees after emancipation of the Flat Rock Methodist Church, and the church was really the foundation. He came from this forced foundation on Lyon Farm and developed the foundation for this church, which was the centerpiece, the heart of
the Flat Rock community, which is still a living and thriving and vibrant community where ancestors from this place and other plantations in the area live today. And they are helping us to know and to name the unnamed people on this census. Thank you for joining us.
We thank y'all for coming. Please do not shy away from plantation museums as you travel, as you vacation. Please go to these spaces and make them do their job. If they are not doing their job, raise holy hell until they do. Because if we don't make sure the story's told right, they won't care that it's told wrong. Right. Thank y'all for coming.
Thank you.